Heroku to write the tickets for me, but it also searches the knowledge base and gives you the sections of the code that are affected by the ticket submitted by a beta user. So instead of you having to load 780,000 lines of code or know where to look, you're giving the semantic searchable sections that are the bug is most likely associated to. The prompt that you're going to feed back into Claude is automatically created and attached to the linear ticket. So all you got to do is review the prompt to make sure that it's accurate based on your knowledge of the code base. Feed it to Claude. There's one human intervention from beta feedback to solution, and it's all based on setting up the knowledge base at the beginning of the project rather than doing it retroactively. If you build it as you go, you're not going to have the gaps that you end up with traditional documentation. Traditional documentation is, I actually forgot about how we do OAuth. I'm not exactly sure what SSO we're using, or that matching parameter that I did to filter out the restaurant pool was 6 months ago. I actually don't remember how I implemented it. So now on that knowledge base, you can set it up for consumer feedback, executive feedback, developer feedback. So your knowledge base becomes your source of truth and your handoff documentation to your client, which we'd love to get into more at a different time, but that was very related.
Well, I think
similar to
we do
what
the
you're
same
saying.
thing. Basically the same thing. It's like what we're doing.
Yep.
It's a game changer.
Brilliant. Yeah, so it's all about completely different mindsets and how we do this stuff so quickly. Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, so I'm just going to share a couple specific examples of how this saved us days probably per task and just kind of some fun situations. So this was another developer that found a bug in the software that somebody introduced a few days before. I'm not going to say specifics there, but anyway, so they found this bug and couldn't figure out how to solve it or what the problem was. But discovered that the logs were showing some hints to it, but nothing that was very useful. So he decided this is the first time he tried Claude. So because we're just starting to use it, and so he shoves the log files into the system, and it looks through the code set and then says, hey, I see the problem. There was a line of code that was removed a few days ago that no longer closes this file when it's done processing. So when it goes to try to do it the second time through, it can't open the file because it's already open. And so then the developer asked, okay, well, who changed that? And then it said it was me. And so he comes to me and says, hey, so you changed this code probably for a reason, but it's causing this problem. And I'm like, yeah, you don't want to bring that line back in and I can't remember exactly why I thought that was the case. But so I started looking at it and started fighting with the AI for a little bit, and then finally concluded, no, it was absolutely right that it needed to do that process, and that was, doesn't matter. But so it was right, I was wrong, and injected that bug. And I ironically was using Claude when I was working that project, but that one line, that was me. So it did not have anything to do with that. So I thought that was kind of fun. He was just thrilled that he could use it, and it found it without him having to do a thing.
So in that scenario,
yeah.
Was he more impressed with Claude or less impressed?
Oh, well, because definitely very impressed. Yeah, more impressed. That was his first time, and he's like, oh my God, just found the problem, and I didn't have to do anything. I mean, he spent maybe an hour trying to figure it out, and then took the log files, and within 5 minutes knew what the problem was. But didn't trust that because I just caused it. And so he's like, why are you, there had to be a reason I did that, he thought.
What gets really fun is if you use an MCP to connect to a bug tracker, like Sentry, is something that can run on a web server and keep track of errors and things like that. If you get like a production bug reported to you or something, you can actually tell Claude, hey, go out and fetch this error report that I just got an email about or whatever, and it can actually go out, read it, look at your code base, and figure out exactly what happened. So you can even automate
bug finding.
Yeah, like you can just hand it to it. It's like, here it is, and it will see what the whole trace was of the bug because that's tracked in Sentry or whatever tool you're using, but then Claude can look at it. That's been pretty incredible too.
Yeah, I got so much to do now.
Oh, you're gonna love it, man. You're gonna love it.
So much to play with.
It is so fun.
As soon as I think I get something figured out, it's already out of date. All right, another example. This one's kind of a different tact. So for probably 10 years, there's an area in the software, it's only an internal tool, so it didn't matter too much, but it would just lock up the interface for 10 seconds to a minute, or maybe even a couple minutes if it's doing some really long processing. And it might do that intermittently for like an hour while you wait for it to do all of this kind of database manipulation stuff. And finally, I saw it happen again, and I thought, hey, this would be a good time. Let me just see what Claude would do. So I just typed up in very simple human terms, hey, it locks up in this area, not sure why. Is this something that you think could be fixed? And it studies it for a few minutes and then starts changing the code in front of me and says, okay, yep, I found the problem. We had to introduce a new thread, whatever. And so compile and try it, and did work fine. Submitted that code too, and it was approved on one shot without any code, without any rejections or whatever. So, but this is something that we lived with for 10 years. Never thought it was worth the effort because it could have taken a day or so, and it's like, okay, we just lived with it. And here now, within 10 minutes, it was fixed. So there's just so many things in our backlog. It's like, hey, we probably could do that one now. Whereas before it was too expensive to think about.
Was that your code too?
Yes, but from a long time ago.
So as you guys begin to into your backlog, you said, how do you plan to manage AI slop code and context drift and just all of the additional bloat that comes with it? Because that's like one of the well-documented issues right now is that, like, yes, it will fix the issue. And do you guys have any quality ratchets that are currently implemented or that you plan to implement to ensure that you don't have context drift or anything like that or new bugs introduced?
Yeah, so that is a big part of the next stage of what we're trying to figure out. So we don't have that necessarily all there yet, but we do a really good job of looking through all the code. So like that example with that code that just broke, that wasn't production, like the one before. So that was still just brand new stuff. But it will, and when we were using ChatGPT, honestly, we probably spent more time cleaning that up and trying to fix that than it actually saved us, unless it was just finding where the problem was. So, but now the code, because it is following the same standards that we have already kind of follow, it's really not doing much of that. I mean, there's some times where it kind of, can go off the rails and go astray, but generally speaking, most of the stuff that I'm seeing is really reasonably good code.
So one thing to that point, we integrated into our Git repos was using different models, and then you basically hook in, and then you have it read the code, and we have certain rules set up of reviewing it to make sure this is up to snuff, and all those are we've left them you can still merge, you can ignore them if you want, the people that are doing that, but it also as you go through and you try to fix a lot of that kind of stuff too, so you kind of use different models to kind of be is this up to snuff? Could this be better? Could we fix this before you're going through merges? So that's one thing that because that's a good, I think everybody's struggling with that right now. Is the code too complex? Is there a bunch of, garbage in there? That's one way we found that we can still move really fast, still use a lot of AI generated code, but still kind of have that manual review plus, actually use different models that would
Yeah.
When you're doing software, we're also building in tests, right from the start. If it's something that you're creating,
TDD.
yeah, TDD. If you got a testing framework in place, then the AI can use that testing framework to make sure that it's not introducing breaking changes from the code level. And for somebody who's not a developer or even is, you can give the AI browser access so it actually can click through an interface and make sure that there isn't bugs there too. So. Yeah, I mean, it's you give it good guardrails and give it a foundation to test against and, a way to visually check things too, and that can really help keep the code from
to that
going
point,
crazy.
another thing that we do is we do a lot of implementation planning, so before we even push code or you write the code, you actually just continue to plan, so talking about Markdown, we use Obsidian, right, you can basically push these plans or linear, we use linear heavily, you basically just keep planning and iterating. Before you even write code, you just go through what are the phases, what am I implementing, what is this going to look like, and just continue to fix it, and then you can almost one-shot it, and it is so much better than just typing in a prompt and saying, please do this for me, or whatever. But if you really take the time to plan and go through and spend an hour going through your documentation, you can almost one-shot stuff, and you get so much better results. Is another thing that we've implemented that I think is changed